Imagine this. You're stranded in a foreign city with no money, no friends, and no way to communicate in the local language. The streets are unfamiliar, the sounds are overwhelming, and the sense of isolation is crushing. You feel a surge of panic, fear, and helplessness as every moment amplifies your distress. The situation seems impossible to navigate, leaving you lost and desperate. Now, imagine there's an easy philosophy that can transform this dire scenario into a path of empowerment and peace. Welcome to Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that equips you with the tools to thrive in even the most challenging circumstances. In this guide, we will explore how Stoicism can help you find serenity amidst chaos, turn obstacles into opportunities, and cultivate a resilient mindset that can withstand life's toughest tests. Stoicism isn't just a set of ideas, it's a practical way of life. By adopting its principles, you can learn to stay calm and composed in the face of adversity. Find joy and meaning in every experience, no matter how difficult. Transform challenges into valuable lessons for personal growth. This guide is your gateway to a more fulfilling, peaceful, and empowered life. Let's begin. Sometimes we can control things, and sometimes we can't. Conception, choice, desire, aversion, and everything else that is ours are under our control. Everything that isn't our own is out of our control. Our bodies, our land, our image, our jobs, and so on. Also, things we control are naturally free, unhindered, and unhindered. Things we don't control, on the other hand, are weak, obedient, easily harmed, and not ours. So, keep in mind that you will be harmed, upset, and angry, and you will blame both gods and people if you think that something that is naturally shackled is free and something that is not yours is yours. If, on the other hand, you only think about what is yours and what is not yours as it really isn't yours, then no one will ever be able to force you to do something against your will. No one will ever be able to stop you. You won't blame or find fault with anyone. No one will be able to hurt you because there is no harm that can reach you, and you won't have an enemy. Because you have such big goals, remember that you will have to put in a lot of work to reach them. You will have to give up some things and put off others for now. But if you want these things along with office and money, you might not even get the money because you are also aiming for the office. You will definitely fail to get the office, which is the only thing that gives you freedom and happiness. So, the first thing you should do is tell every negative external impression, you are an external impression and not at all what you seem to be. Then look at it and test it using these rules, the first and most important being whether the impression is about things we can control or things we can't. And be prepared to say, "It is nothing to me," if the question relates to one of these things that is outside of our control. For you to remember that the promise of desire is getting what you want. It is the desire of distaste not to fall into what is avoided, and it is unfortunate for someone to fail in their desire, while unfortunate things happen to someone who falls into what they would avoid. In that case, you will not fall into any of the things you are trying to avoid if you only avoid the things that are not normal in the things you can control. But if you try to stay away from sickness, death, or hunger, bad things will happen to you. Therefore, stop being against things that are out of our control and focus your dislike on things that are out of the ordinary that we can control. But for now, go ahead and get rid of your desire. If you want something that we can't control, you will definitely have bad luck. At the same time, you can't get any of the things we can control, even though you should want them. But only use choice and resistance, and only those two softly, with doubts and without pressure. Remember to ask yourself, starting with the most basic things, what is its nature? If you like a jug, say, "I like a jug," and you won't be upset when it breaks. Say to yourself, that you are kissing a human being every time you kiss your child or wife. That way, you won't be upset when it dies. When you are about to start working on something, tell yourself what it is that you are working on. Put what happens at a public bath. People who hit you with water, bump into you, insult you, and steal from you in front of your mind if you plan to leave the house to take a bath. So, you will be able to start your project with more confidence. When you start something, tell yourself, I want to take a bath and keep my moral purpose in harmony with nature at the same time. Do this with everything you do. So, if something comes up that stops you from taking a bath, you can say, oh well, that wasn't all I wanted. I also wanted to keep my moral purpose in harmony with nature, and I won't keep it if it makes me mad. It's not the things themselves that bother guys, but how they think about them. For instance, Socrates would have agreed with him that death is not a terrible thing. But the terrible thing is the conclusion that death is terrible. So, when we are slowed down, upset or sad, we should never blame anyone but ourselves. That is, our own decisions. If someone isn't smart, they will blame others when they are sick. To blame himself is the first thing that he needs to learn. Someone whose schooling is full doesn't blame anyone else or themselves. Don't get excited about greatness that isn't your own. In his happiness, the horse could say, I am beautiful, and no one would mind. When you're happy and say, I have a beautiful horse, you're happy about something good about horses. Then what is yours? The use of first thoughts. Feel happy when you use outside feelings in a way that is in harmony with nature. That way, your happiness will come from something good that you are doing. Just like on a trip, if you go to land to get fresh water after your ship has docked, you might find a small shellfish or bulb along the way. You must, however, keep your eyes on the ship and turn around often for fear that the captain will call. You have to give up all of these things if he calls. If you wanted to avoid being tied up like sheep and thrown on board, you could. In life, it's the same. Instead of a little bulb and a little shellfish, you could be given a little wife and child. No one would complain. Give up everything and run to the ship as fast as you can if the captain calls. Don't even look back. If you are an old man, don't even go close to leaving the ship, because you might not be there when he calls. You shouldn't try to change the way things happen. Instead, you should hope for them to happen the way they do. This will make your life peaceful. Illness is a problem for the body, but not for the moral purpose. In the same way that being lame is a problem for the leg, but not for the moral purpose. When bad things happen, tell yourself, you will find that the thing is getting in the way of something else, but not of yourself. Remember that you should act in real life like you would at a fancy dinner. If something is being passed around and it comes to you, politely put out your hand and take a piece. Do not hold on to it, it moves on. If it hasn't yet come to you, don't reflect your desire to meet it. Instead, wait for it to come to you. Be this way with your kids, your wife, your job, and your money. Then one day, you'll be good enough to eat at the gods' feasts. Don't take these things, even if they are put in front of you. Instead, hate them. Then you will not only share the gods' feast, but also their rule. Because they did this, people like Diogenes and Heraclitus were called holy, which was a proper title. When you see someone crying because he lost something or his child went on a trip, don't give the wrong idea that the person is going through something bad in the outside world. Right away, though, keep this thought in mind. It's not what happened that bothers this man. It's how he feels about it that bothers another. Don't be afraid to express your sympathy with words, and if the time comes, even groan with him. But be careful not to groan in the middle of who you are. Keep in mind that you are a player in a play, and the author chooses your role. If he wants the play to be short, it is short. If he wants it to be long, it is long. Just remember to be good at being a beggar if he asks you to play that part. So, whether you are an official or a regular person, It is your job to do a great job in the part that was given to you. But that job was chosen by someone else. When a raven crows in a bad way, don't let the outside impressions get to you. Instead, make a distinction in your mind right away and tell yourself, none of these signs are for me. They're for my paltry body, my paltry estates, my paltry opinion, my children, or my wife. But for me, every sign is good if I so wish. No matter what happens, I can benefit from it. If you never compete in a game where winning is out of your control, you might be able to beat anyone. Watch out that when you see someone who is respected for their honor, powerful, or well known in some other way, you get caught up in the appearance and think they are happy. Because if we can control the true nature of good, then there is no room for envy or jealousy. You will not want to be a praetor, senator, or president, but a free man. I hate things that are out of our control. That's the only way to get there. Keep in mind that the guys who drag you or hit you are not insulting you. It is your opinion that is insulting them. So, the next time someone irritates you, know that it was your own opinion that made you angry. Make it your first goal not to let the outside image affect you, because if you can gain time and delay, you will more easily become the master of yourself. Keep death, exile, and everything else that seems awful in front of your eyes every day. Death will be the worst thing you think about, and you will never want anything more than that. If you want to study philosophy, you should know that you will be laughed at and told things like, "Look at him, all of a sudden he's a philosopher. Where did he get that high brow?" But don't you put on a high brow and stick to the things that you think are best as a man God put in this position. Remember that if you follow the same principles, people who used to make fun of you will eventually come to admire you. But if they beat you, you'll laugh at yourself twice. In the event that you ever turn to outside factors to make someone happy, know that you have lost your way in life. Thus, be happy with being a philosopher in every way, and if you want to be seen as one, prove to yourself that you are one. You will be able to do it. Don't let these thoughts bother you. I shall live without honor and be nobody anywhere. Because if not having honor is bad, then you can't be bad through someone else, just like you can't be bad through shame. Getting elected or being asked to a dinner party isn't your business, is it? Without a doubt not. Therefore, how is this any longer a lack of honor? Also, how come you will be unknown everywhere when you should only be known for the things you can control, where you are a man of the highest honor? But your friends will not have any help. What do you mean by not having any help? These people will not get chicken coins from you, and you will not make them Roman citizens. Who told you that these are things that we can control instead of things that other people do? And who can give someone something they don't have? Then get money, says a friend, so we can have it too. Show me the way, and I'll get it if I can make money while maintaining my integrity, loyalty, and high mind. You can see for yourself how unfair and careless you are if you want others to have the bad things that belong to me instead of the good things that belong to me. Which would you really want? Money or a friend who is loyal and respects your own worth? So, please help me reach this goal and don't make me do things that will make me lose these traits. Has someone been praised more than you at a dinner party, when you spoke, or when you were asked for advice? You should be glad that he got these things if they are good. But if they are bad, don't worry that you didn't get them. Keep in mind that you can't be considered deserving of an equal share with others if you don't act the same way they do to get things that are out of our control. Why? How can a man who doesn't knock on other men's doors have the same amount of shares as a man who does? For the man who doesn't go on guard duty with the man who does and prays with the man who does. So, you will be unfair and greedy if you don't want to pay the price that these things are worth, but still want to get them for free. How much do heads of greens cost? A no ball, maybe. Let's say someone gives up their no ball and gets their heads of lettuce. If you don't give up your no ball and don't get your heads of lettuce, Don't think you're worse off than the person who gets his letters. They still have their letters, and you still have your no ball, which you haven't given away. Now it's the same in real life too. Someone hasn't asked you to their dinner party. Of course not, since you didn't tell the host how much his dinner costs. People buy it from him because he wants praise and attention. Give him the price that it's sold for, if that's what you want. But if you want both to get the other thing and not give up the first thing, you are greedy and stupid. So, do you have anything else planned for dinner? Yes, you have. You didn't have to praise the person you didn't want to praise, and you didn't have to put up with his rude doorkeepers. In the same way that a mark isn't put there to be missed, evil doesn't just appear in the world. Anybody who met you would be angry if someone gave their body to them, but that you give your mind to anyone who comes along, so that if he shows you, it is shook up and angry. Don't you feel bad about that? Before you do anything, you should think about what comes first and what comes after. Only then should you do the thing itself. Otherwise, you will be excited about it at first, because you haven't thought about any of the steps that will follow. But when things get hard later, you'll give up in a shameful way. Do you want to win an Olympic medal? By the gods, I agree, because it's a good thing. And then think about the things that come before and after that. Only then should you start working on the job. You must obey the rules, stick to a strict diet, give up sweets, and train at set times, whether it's hot or cold weather. You shouldn't drink wine or cold water whenever you want. You should have given your teacher your full attention, just like you would a doctor. Then, during the competition, you have to get down on the ground next to your opponent and get hit, dislocate your wrist, hurt your ankle, swallow a lot of sand, and sometimes get whipped. Have you thought about all of these things? If so, then you can go ahead and play the games. If not, you'll be going backwards like kids. They act out plays, play fighters and gladiators. Sometimes they blow horns and then act out a play. You are now an athlete, a warrior, a rhetorician, and a philosopher. Still, you copy everything you see with all your heart, just like an ape, and you get interested in new things all the time. Because you've never gone after something carefully or after thinking about it thoroughly, you've always done it without much thought or care. In the same way, some people want to be philosophers after seeing one and hearing him talk like Euphrates, though who else could speak like him? Man, first think about what the business is about, and then learn how to do it. Should you be able to handle it? Would you rather be a pentathlete or a wrestler? Take a look at your legs, arms, and loins. One man is naturally good at one thing, and another is naturally good at something else. Do you think you can continue to eat and drink the way you do now, giving in to desire and anger? You have to keep watch, work hard, leave your own people, be looked down upon by a paltry slave, make fun of by everyone you meet, and get the worst of it in honor, office, court, and every paltry matter. Take a close look at these problems. If you are ready to give up these things in order to find peace, freedom, and calm, then don't bother with philosophy. Do not behave like a kid. First as a scholar, then as a tax collector, then as a rhetorician, and finally as Caesar's procurator. These do not go with each other. You can only be one person, good or bad. You need to work on either your own ruling idea or the outside world. You can work hard on yourself or on the outside world. In other words, act like either a philosopher or a stranger. Most of the time, our social relationships tell us what our responsibilities are. He is like a father. You should take care of him, obey him in everything, and give in when he shows or hits you. But he's not a good father. Did nature then bring you together with a good father? Not at all, just with a dad. My brother hurts me. So, keep your relationship with him the same, and don't think about what he is doing. Instead, think about what you need to do to be morally in harmony with nature. You will only be hurt when you think you are hurt in this way. No one will hurt you without your permission. So, if you make it a habit to look at your social relationships with people, you will know what role to expect from your neighbor, your citizen, or your military officer. I want you to know that the most important thing for being religious to the gods is to believe that they exist and are running the universe in a fair and good way, and to have decided to obey them and accept everything that happens, believing that the highest intelligence is carrying out your plan. Because if you act this way, you will never say that the gods were wrong for ignoring you. But you can only get this result if you take your idea of what is good and bad out of things we can't control and put it only in things we can. Because if you believe any of those things to be good or bad, then when you fail to get what you want and fall into what you don't want, you will automatically blame and hate the people who caused these things. Because it's in the nature of all living things to avoid and turn away from things that seem dangerous and everything that makes them, and to seek out and admire things that seem helpful and everything that makes them. So, a man who believes he is being heard cannot enjoy what he believes is hurting him, just as he cannot enjoy being hurt itself. So, even a son will hate a father who doesn't let him be a part of the things that seem like they should be good. This is what turned Polynices and Eteocles against each other. They both thought that royal power was a good thing. That's why the farmer, the sailor, the trader, and people who have lost their wives and children hate the gods. Men's faith is based on where they are interested. So, someone who is careful to use desire and fear the way they should is also careful about their faith. Nevertheless, it is always proper to offer libations and offerings and give the first fruits, just like our ancestors did. We should do this with purity, not carelessly or sloppily, nor rudely, nor beyond our means. When you go to a diviner for help, remember that you don't know what the problem is going to be. You're there to find out. But if you are a philosopher, you will know when you get there what it is. Being unable to control something means that what will happen can't be either good or bad. Therefore, do not approach the diviner with fear or desire. But once you've decided that no matter what the problem is, it doesn't matter to you, you can use it for good, and no one will stop you. You can make up your mind. Finally, when you get some advice, remember who you trusted as advisors and who you will not listen to if you don't follow through. But use divination the way Socrates thought people should. That is, when the whole question has to do with the outcome and there are no other ways to find out the answer through reason or any other technical skill. Because of this, don't ask the seer if you should share the danger of a friend or your country when it is your job to do so. If the seer tells you that the signs of the offering have been bad, it is clear that you will die, get hurt, or be sent away on a journey. But even though there is a risk, you should still stand by your friend and share the risk with your country. Because of this, pay attention to the wiser Pythian Apollo, who kicked out of his temple the person who didn't help his friend who was being killed. Start by giving yourself a certain stamp and type of character that you should stick to, whether you're by yourself or with other people. Also, try to be quiet most of the time, or say only the most important things in short but infrequent phrases. And if the situation calls for it, do talk, but don't talk about normal things. Do not talk about gladiators, horse races, sports, food or drinks, or anything else that comes up on Ola K. Most importantly, do not talk about people, whether you are criticizing, supporting, or comparing them. If you can buy your own talk, bring over that of your friends. That's the right thing to do. But if you're left alone with aliens, be quiet. Be quiet and don't laugh a lot, or at a lot of different things. Try not to take a promise at all if you can, but if that's not possible, refuse as much as you can. You should stay away from entertainments put on by outsiders and people who don't know much about philosophy. If the chance comes up to go to one, Be careful not to act like these people, because if a man's companion is dirty, the person who stays close to him must get some of that dirt, even if he is clean himself. Take only as much as you need when it comes to body-related things. I mean things like food, drink, clothes, a place to live, and house servants. But cut down anything that is just for show or luxury. Before you get married, try to keep your sex life as pure as possible, and if you do partake, only do what the law allows. You shouldn't offend or limit people who do indulge, though, and you shouldn't talk a lot about the fact that you don't indulge yourself. If someone says that someone is talking badly about you, don't defend yourself against what was said. Instead say, "Yes, indeed, because he didn't know the rest of the faults that attach to me. If he had, these would not have been the only ones he mentioned." Most of the time, you don't need to go to public shows, but if the chance comes up, show that your main concern is for yourself only, which means we only want that to happen. For that kind of action shows that you found the show impressive. Do not rush or easily go to other people's public readings. When you do go, though, keep your own honor and respect, and be careful not to make yourself unpleasant. When you are about to meet a certain person, especially a man you respect a lot, ask yourself, what would Socrates or Zeno have done in this situation? This will help you make the most of the situation. When you go to see one of those powerful men, tell yourself that he won't be at home, that the door will be slammed in your face, and that he won't pay any attention to you. What if you still have to go? If so, take what comes your way and never tell yourself it wasn't worth all the trouble. That's how an outsider, or someone who is annoyed by outside things, thinks. It is not as enjoyable for other people to hear about your travels as it is for you to call to mind your own dangers, so try to avoid talking too much or too briefly about your own actions or dangers. Also, don't laugh out loud. This is a behavior that can easily turn rude and is also meant to make your neighbors dislike you more. Also, using bad words is dangerous. So, when something like this happens, if the time is right, go so far as to reprimand the person who did something wrong. As long as the chance doesn't come up, however, show that you don't like what was said by remaining quiet and blushing and frowning. When you feel pleasure from the outside, be careful not to let it take over, just like when you feel any other kind of impression. Not at all. Let the matter wait until you have time to think about it. Now, think about the two times. The time when you will enjoy your pleasure and the time when, after the pleasure is over, you will feel bad about yourself and repent. And compare that to how happy and satisfied you will be if you don't do it during these two times. But if you think the time is right to do the deed, be careful not to let its sweetness, allure, and temptation take over. Instead, think about how much better it is to know that you beat it. Never try to hide the fact that you are doing something that you have made up your mind should be done, even if the majority of people will not like it. You should not do what you are doing, though, if you know it is wrong. But if it's right, why be afraid of people who will correct you wrongly? It is day and it is night have meaning when they are apart, but they have no meaning when they are together. Similarly, taking the bigger portion at dinner may be good for your body, but it's not good for maintaining good social feelings. Therefore, when you are eating with someone else, remember to respect both the food that is in front of you and the person who is feeding you. Doing a part that you can't do well makes you look bad in that role and makes you forget about the role that you could have done well in that one. Be careful not to hurt your ruling principle in the same way that you are careful not to step on a nail or sprain your ankle. And we will feel safer going about it if we follow this rule in everything we do. The foot is a measure for a shoe, and so is a man's body. Then, if you follow this rule, you will keep the right measure. For those who go past it, however, they will unavoidably fall off a cliff. Finally, Just like with your shoe, if you go past the foot, you get a golden shoe, then a purple shoe, and finally an embroidery shoe, because there is no limit once you go past the measure. Once a girl turns 14, guys treat her like a cold lady. So, when they realize that all they have going for them is being with guys, they start to take care of their looks and put all their dreams in that. So, it's important for us to make sure they know that they are only praised for looking humble and self-respecting. An indication of a guy who is given by a lady is that he spends a lot of time on his body, such as working out, eating, drinking, going to the bathroom, and sex. But these things are only done briefly. Your full attention should be on the mind. If someone talks badly about you or treats you badly, remember that he is doing it because he thinks it is his duty to do so. So, he can't follow what seems good to you and what seems good to him. So, if someone gets the wrong idea about something, the person who suffers is the one who was tricked. Because if someone thinks a true composite decision is wrong, it is the person who was fooled who should suffer. So, if you start from this point of view, you will be kind to the person who is mean to you. In each case, you should say, "He thought that way about it." There are two handles on everything. One should be used to carry it, and the other shouldn't. If your brother does you wrong, don't take the case by the handle of the wrong he is doing, or by any other handle that should not be used. Instead, say that he is your brother and that you grew up together by the other name. Once you have that, you will grab the thing by the handle it should be carried by. "I am richer than you are, therefore I am superior to you." Or, "I am more eloquent than you are, therefore I am superior to you." The better conclusions are, "I am richer than you are, therefore my property is superior to yours." Or, "I am more eloquent than you are, therefore my elocution is superior to yours." But you are neither property nor elocution. Do not say that someone bathes badly. Instead, say that he is in a hurry. If someone drinks a lot of wine, don't say that they drink badly. Just say that they drink a lot, because you can't be sure that what he is doing is bad until you know what makes him act that way. So, what will happen in the end is not that you have strong sense feelings of some things, but that you agree with others. Remember that you should never call yourself a philosopher and should usually stick to talking about your philosophical principles with other people. Instead, do what your principles tell you to do. In other words, don't tell people how to eat at our feasts. Instead, eat like a man. It's important to remember that Socrates got rid of the idea of ostentation so totally that people came to him to meet philosophers. He used to bring them along because he was so good at letting himself be forgotten. If someone from the outside starts talking about a philosophical concept, you should stay quiet, because there is a good chance that you will throw up right away what you haven't eaten. As long as you don't get hurt when someone says you don't know anything, you can be sure that you are making progress on the task you set out to do. Sheep don't bring their food to the shepherd to show him how much they've eaten. Instead, they digest it inside their bodies and make wool and milk on the outside. As a result, you don't show off your philosophical principles to the general public. They should see what happens when these principles are put into practice, though. Once you're used to living simply in terms of your body's needs, don't brag about it. The same goes for saying that you drink water. Don't always say that you drink water. For those who want to improve their physical stamina, it is best to do the work alone, away from other people. However, if you are really thirsty, do not wrap your arms around statues. Instead, drink some cold water and then spit it out without telling anyone. That's how a layperson acts and thinks. He never looks for help or harm within himself, but only outside sources. This is the philosopher's point of view. He gets all of his good or bad things from himself. Criticism, praise, blame, and finding fault with no one are all signs of progress. Someone who is making progress also doesn't talk about himself as if he were someone or knew something. He blames himself when things get in the way of him. Whenever someone says something nice about him, he smiles to himself. But if someone criticizes him, he doesn't say anything to defend himself. He moves around like he's sick, being careful not to hurt any part that's getting better before it's fully healed. Every desire he had has been taken away from him. Man has turned his dislike only toward things that are within his control and go against nature. In terms of anything, he doesn't make a clear choice. There's no harm in making him look like he's stupid or unaware. To put it another way, he watches out for himself as if he were an enemy waiting for him. When someone brags that he can understand and analyze Cruciferus's books, tell yourself, if Cruciferus hadn't written so poorly, this person would have nothing to brag about. But what do I want to learn? To be like nature and follow her. Because of this, I need someone to translate her, and I've heard that Cruciferus can do it, so I go to him. But I don't get what he wrote. So, I'm looking for the person who can translate Christopher's. And up until now, there was no reason to be proud. But once I find the translator, all that's left is to follow his advice. There is only one thing to be proud of. But if I like the act of interpreting itself, what have I done? I've become a language expert instead of a philosopher. In fact, the only change is that I read Christopher's instead of Homer's. So, when someone tells me, read Mitra Civis, I blush instead of being happy. The rather when I can't show him actions that match and fit with what he says. No matter what principles are set before you, you must follow them like rules, thinking it would be immoral for you to break them. Don't care about what other people say about you, though, because you can't control this anymore. How long are you going to wait to believe that you deserve the best things, and that there is nothing you can do to break the rules set by the reason you were given? It is the logical principles that you should accept, and you have. So what kind of teacher are you still waiting for that you shouldn't change until he gets there? You can't do that anymore because you're an adult man now. Without noticing it, you won't make any progress if you are careless and laid back, always putting things off, and promise yourself one day after another that you will pay attention to yourself. On the other hand, living and dying will always be an amateur. So, make up your minds right now before it ends. What you should do is live your life like a grown man who is making progress. Everything that you think is best should be a rule for you that you must not break. And if you come across something hard or easy, sweet or not, well-known or not well-known, remember that this is the race and these are the Olympic Games, and that there is no more time to waste, and that there is just one day and one deed that can either lose or gain success. This is how Socrates became the person he was. He paid attention to nothing but his reason in everything he did. If you want to be a Socrates, you should live like you are one, even if you are not one yet. The application of the principles constitutes the first and most important divide in philosophy. For instance, don't lie. The second one is about the protests, and so on. Why is it that we should not lie? The third confirms these processes and tells them apart, such as, how is it that this is a proof for what is a proof? What does a reasonable result mean? What's the contradiction? What is the truth? That which is false. Because of this, the second division makes the third division necessary, and the first division makes the second division necessary. The most important one, though, is the first one, which is where we should rest. But we don't do that. We spend all of our time and energy on the third level, but we don't pay any attention to the first. That's why we really lie. There should always be these thoughts in our minds. Lead me on, O Zeus and destiny, to that goal that you gave me a long time ago. I'll follow and not falter if my will proves weak and craven still. I'll follow on. Whoever has rightly obeyed in this way, we count him wise and skilled in divine things. Well, O Crito, If that pleases the gods, then let it be. Anytus and Meletus can kill me, but they can't hurt me.